Hello there YouTubers. In today's video I will talk about and review the group Electric Light Orchestra, or short for ELO's records. The band was formed in 1970 by in England by Jeff Lynne, Roy Wood, Bev Bevan and Richard Tandy. They made kind of rock, also pop and that kind of stuff. Their first album came in 1971 in UK and 1972 in US, and was only called the Electric Light Orchestra. I don't have that album, but I have listened to it on Spotify. Also, on these reviews I will not play any songs on the records because of copyright. The copyright in this case are by Sony Music, and by all means, if you can, please support the artist and buy the records either on iTunes or that kind of stuff, or at least Spotify, so they get a little bit money. Because of in these bad times where virus outbreak, everyone should do the best to prevent a total failure with even record companies and that kind of stuff. Anyway, so now the first album is a bit baroque kind of. It's progressive rock, symphonic rock also. I don't have that album, as I said, so I listen to Spotify. The most famous song from that one is 10,538 Overture. That is a quite long song. It's kind of cool track. Also, the Battle of Marston Moor is also very baroque on that album. It's many wind instruments and that kind of stuff. No many guitars. There's cellos and that kind of things on that album. It's a good album and I would recommend it. Absolutely. So now, next album is called 2, and it's this album, and it was released in 1973, early 1973. There was another album that was released the same year. This is a US version of it. It was UK also, but this is the US version. Now, the most famous song from that album became Roll Over Beethoven. Here are the tracks on the album. There's not many songs on it. Roll Over Beethoven is the last one on side 1. One interesting thing is here. You see here, it's called Boogie 2 and Boogie 1. Now, I think it's quite strange that side 2 has Boogie 1 and not Boogie. I mean, it should be the opposite. Boogie 1 on there, Boogie 2 on there, because it would make more sense. But never mind. I guess it doesn't matter too much. It's a quite good album. So it's quite cool. Here are the band. The same year, this also came out. That is called On the Third Day. Right there. Here are the songs. My favorite song from that one is The Hall of the Mountain King, and I believe that was one of the singles from that album actually. This one is on United Artists pressing, but it's still owned by Sony Records in these times. It's not quite good album in my opinion. Like I said, the best song is the In the Hall of the Mountain King. The rest of them are not that kind of good in my opinion. Ma Bell, I think that was a hit, but I don't like that very much. The next album came in 1974 and is called Eldorado. These were in two kind of endings, like the two, you can open it like that, and also this easy pressing with only like that. The cover, I don't know what the word for it is right now, but yes. There were two singles released from this album, and these were Can't Get It Out of My Head and Boy Blue. Now, I would say that that track, Can't Get It Out of My Head, is quite interesting title for the song, because when you hear it, it gets kind of stuck in your head. So it's kind of a true title for that song. It's a concept album also, and it's about a man who made the journey into fantasy worlds with dreams, and he doesn't like the reality in the real world, so he escaped to the fantasy world. And it's a good album for a concept album. Yes, here on the tracks on the on the side, you can see it begins with Overture, and ends with a final. So yeah, that makes it quite interesting. Now, next album was called Face the Music and came out in 1975. On these albums it's kind of a prog rock, by the way, and these are also kind of prog, but it's a bit symphonic as well, especially kind of in the first track that is called Fire on High. That is a really weird song, by the way, but the most famous song from here is called Evil Woman. There were also two other songs released from this one, Strange Magic and Night Rider. You see, it's only 4 songs on each side, so, but some of the songs are quite long, so that's why it's like that. That song Fire on High is quite interesting because of they use a bit of interesting things in that song. It begins with a kind of synthesizer doing kind of ding 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 like that, and then there's a lot of noises, and then somebody speak backwards, and there's also it's a bit interesting things, and there's chants of hallelujah, and there's orchestra coming in with synthesizer, and then there's a lot of symphonic things going on, and yeah. So I would say it's a quite interesting song in my opinion. The Evil Woman on the album is a little bit different from the single released, because in the beginning of the song you hear a little bit short of Fire on High, but not on the single. And that's kind of interesting. It's a bit disco thing going on with the song also, I would say. Like evil woman, yeah, you know. So it's a cool song. The next album I have on CD as well. It's a 30th anniversary edition on that one. Now it's a new world record. That album came in 1976. It's more pop, rock pop, and very symphonic on some places, like I would talk about later there. This first song, Tightrope, begins with a bit symphonic thing going on, and it ends with Shangri-La, that definitely have symphonics going on. Of the songs that was released here was Living Thing, Rockaria, Duja, and Telephone Line. The Living Thing version is a bit not exactly the same as the album track as the single version, I would say. The Telephone Line is basically the same, I think, maybe a bit shorter. This album was a very big hit, both in UK and US and Sweden and that kind of stuff. So they sold very many copies of this, but not as much as the next album they had. Now, the reissue here, or this edition, has some extra tracks. There's a different version of Telephone Line. There's a B-side that was released on single, Tightrope, and that's it. There's, yeah, a few different versions of some of the songs on that. And Surrender, of course, that was released as single. Now, the next album became a very big hit. This album actually sold about 10 millions each in world. That's quite good. That's nice. Now, it's a double album. The earlier version of this had it cut out, so you could build your own spaceship. Now, this is not the first edition of it, so it's not on my version of it, but hey, it doesn't matter. It's quite a good album in a way. And here are the tracks. We begins with a hit, Turn to Stone. That is record 1, side 1 and side 2. You seeing here, because it's a double album, this one. I do like the good songs on side 1 there, and then I have record 2. Now, the first side of this Constructor for a Rainy Day is like non-stop music, so the tracks go into each other, so to speak, so there's no silence between the tracks on that side. Yeah, I like most of the tracks on this one also. Now, there were 5 singles released from this album, and these were Turn to Stone, Mr. Blue Sky, Sweet Talking Woman, Wild West Hero, and It's Over. I think It's Over wasn't that much popular. It's more like Turn to Stone and Sweet Talking Woman, and Wild West Hero was the biggest hits from this one, I would guess. It's an interesting thing that on that side you hear some weather effects, and these were real, that they had recorded for the album. It's this album is kind of I would say it's more like pop or that kind of stuff. Not very symphonic, a little bit symphonic in place, but not as much as the previous. Then in 1979 we had this album coming on that is called Discovery. Now this album is very kind of disco-ish and kind of a synth away also. So there's a bit of but of course there's also some rock and that kind of stuff, but I would say this album is like disco. There's some disco music on this one. I'm sorry that the print here is not very good. I mean, you can read the titles, I guess, but reflective surface, you know, doesn't get so good when you film it like that. But I hope you can read the titles there. There were 5 singles from this one that was released, and these were Shine a Little Love, The Diary of Horace Wimp, Don't Bring Me Down, Confusion, and Last Train to London. This one has 3 extra tracks. The first one is a demo recording, and the other 2 are very short, and I think one of them was released as a B-side, maybe. Not quite sure about that, but I believe so. I do like this album quite a lot. I like almost all songs on it. It's a very nice album. Next album that came in 1981 is called Time, as you can see, and I have changed some things here. You see, they called ELO on this album and not Electric Light Orchestra. Now this album is a concept album like Eldorado. The album is kind of rock opera and synth also. Now it's, like I said, it's a concept album. It's about a man who time travels to the future, yours truly 2095, and then reflects on the 80s and that, and he doesn't like what he sees in the future, neither in the future and the 80s, and well, so he is like he's getting depressed on that, and well, it's not like he wants. So yes, and here we have the songs on this one. The 3 bonus tracks, I think these were singles from the album, or maybe not. I'm not sure about that, but I believe they are. There were 5 singles released from this one, by the way. These were Hold On Tight, Twilight, Ticket to the Moon, Here Is the News. That's a double single, I guess. Rain Is Falling, and The Life's Meant to Be. The way Life's Meant to Be, sorry. And it's kind of synth, like I said, synth pop, rock, opera, that kind of things. So it's definitely a good album to listen to, I would say. Then in 1983 they came with an album called Secret Messages. This was meant to be a double album, but the record company didn't like that idea, so they released this as a one, not double album. And you can see Rock and Roll is King. That was one of the singles from this album. I guess it was the most famous song, actually. There were also Secret Messages, a special version from the album, and Four Little Diamonds and Stranger, but I guess it's the Rock and Roll is King that people remember from this album. It's quite cool. From the beginning, yeah, there we have that. That's kind of interesting. I don't know if that's true, but it's kind of cool. So that after this one, there had been released as a double album, both on Spotify and on physical copy, like vinyl, I guess it is, or CD, I'm not sure. But anyway, they had released it, so these songs that were supposed to be on it as well are available to buy or listen to on Spotify also. Now, next album, they call themselves Yellow and Electric Light Orchestra, so both are right. This one is also kind of a synth pop thing going on this one. The biggest hit from this is called Calling America, but there were also So Serious and Secret Lives and Getting to the Point that was released. No, by the way, Secret Lives wasn't released a single, but Calling America, So Serious and Getting to the Point was. Of course, there had been remastered on CD later with some bonus tracks, but this is the vinyl we have here. So I like most of the songs on this one. That song Endless Lies was supposed to be on Secret Messages, but in another version, but they changed it a little bit and had it on a fast. It's a bit faster than the previous version they had. So if I have listened to that other version, and it's quite slow, and it was meant to be a kind of homage to Roy Orbison song, and but it's a good song, either both versions I would say. So it's a good album to listen to if you like that kind of music. And then it's an album I don't have, but I have listened to, and this is how it looks like, and it's called Zoom and came 2001. After this album they disbanded, so this was after they had begun making music again. However, this album was not a good success, I would say, but if anyone like this group, you can of course listen to it, but it's no, I wouldn't say it's a good album. There were 2 singles from it that was called Alright and Moment in Paradise. I think they were only released on CD. Yes, I believe so. And but yeah, to me it wasn't a good album. Maybe some other like it, fine for them, but I don't do it. So that was that. And in next video, where I will do reviews, I will make a review of a group with Spanish girls that were dressed very nice, not very much clothes. I think some can guess the name of the group, but I can say it. They called Baccara. So in next video I will review Baccara and the music. So hold on to your butts or whatever. So see you then.